Melbourne stands at the peak of its golden age. Just 3 decades after gold was discovered in Victoria, this city has transformed itself into one of the wealthiest metropolises on Earth. They call it Marvelous Melbourne, and the name fits. In this AI reconstruction, we're bringing historical paintings, photographs, and maps to life to show you Melbourne at its absolute zenith, a city drunk on prosperity, building monuments to its own success, and racing toward a future that seems limitless. If you enjoy this kind of historical content, subscribe and let me know in the comments which city you'd like to see next. Collins Street, 1825. This is Collins Street, and Melburnians call it the Paris End, without a trace of irony. The eastern section between Spring and Exhibition Streets has become one of the most fashionable addresses in the entire British Empire. 3-story buildings line both sides, their ornate cast-iron balconies and Italianate facades competing for attention. Gentlemen in top hats and ladies in bustles promenade beneath plane trees imported from Europe. The Melbourne Club sits at number 36, where the colony's elite gather to smoke cigars and make deals that shape Victoria's future. Horse-drawn carriages clatter over wooden block, paving a recent upgrade from the dirt streets of just a few years ago. Gas lamps stand, ready to illuminate the street once darkness falls. This isn't just a street, it's a statement. Melbourne has arrived. Burke Street. Burke Street pulses with commercial energy. This is where Melbourne shops. And the crowds are constant. Between Elizabeth and Swanston Streets, the Royal Arcade cuts through, its glass roof sheltering elegant shops selling imported luxury goods. The clock at the arcade entrance is watched over by Gog and Magog, carved wooden giants that strike the hours. Omnibuses rumble past, carrying passengers to the expanding suburbs. Melbourne's population has hit 300,000, and it seems like half of them are on Burke Street right now. The Melbourne Town Hall. The Melbourne Town Hall dominates Swanston Street, and it's meant to. Completed 15 years ago in 1870, this Second Empire masterpiece sparked considerable debate over its expense. But Melbourne's civic leaders wanted grandeur, and grandeur is what they got. The main hall seats 3,000 people beneath soaring ceilings decorated with gold leaf. A massive organ, one of the finest in the Southern Hemisphere, dominates the stage. Tonight, there might be a concert. Tomorrow, a political rally. Next week, a grand ball where Melbourne's new money tries to impress Melbourne's old money. The building's tower rises 220 feet, offering views across the entire city for those willing to climb the stairs. The Victorian Parliament House. Parliament House sits on Spring Street, facing the Treasury Gardens. It's still unfinished. The dome that architects planned will never be built, but what exists is magnificent. The building opened in 1856, and they've been adding to it ever since. The library just opened last year, its shelves filling with books shipped from London. Inside the chambers, colonial politicians debate the issues of the day. Victoria's Parliament is one of the most democratic in the British Empire. Most adult men can vote, regardless of property ownership. This radical experiment in democracy draws observers from around the world. Outside, the gardens offer a green escape from the city's noise. Office workers eat lunch beneath exotic trees, while politicians slip out for private conversations away from prying ears. Cable trams arrive. The future of urban transport is rattling down Flinders Street. Melbourne's first cable tram line opened just this year in November, connecting Spencer Street to Hawthorne via Flinders Street, and the city is already excited about what's coming. The system works like San Francisco's cable cars. An underground cable pulls the trams along at a steady 9 miles per hour. It's revolutionary. No horses to feed or clean up after. No steam engines belching smoke. Just smooth, reliable transport that will soon run from dawn until midnight. The Melbourne Tramway Trust is planning rapid expansion. New lines are already being designed for Richmond, South Melbourne, and Prahran. Within 5 years, the cable tram network will be the most extensive in the world. Workers will live in affordable suburban cottages and commute to city jobs. The middle class is moving outward, and the trams are making it possible. The Yara River and Prince's Bridge. The current Prince's Bridge spans the Yara River, though construction on a new, much grander iron bridge will begin next year to replace it. Below, The river looks nothing like it did 30 years ago. The banks have been straightened and lined with stone. Wharves extend into the water where cargo vessels unload goods from around the world. The water itself flows brown and sluggish. Decades of development upstream have taken their toll. On the southern bank, warehouses and industrial buildings spread toward Port Melbourne. The Fitzroy Gardens. East of the city centre, the Fitzroy Gardens offer 64 acres of carefully landscaped greenery. Formal pathways wind between English trees that are finally starting to feel at home in Australian soil. The gardens were laid out in the 1850s, part of Melbourne's plan to be a garden city despite the harsh climate. On Sundays, families promenade in their finest clothes. Young couples court under the watchful eyes of chaperones. Children roll hoops down the paths while their nursemaids watch from benches. The conservatory houses exotic plants too delicate for Melbourne's weather. In summer, the grass turns brown despite constant watering. But Melburnians don't seem to mind. This is their park. They're proof that civilization can be transplanted to the other end of the earth. The Exhibition Building. The Royal Exhibition Building rises in Carlton Gardens, a massive statement of Melbourne's global ambitions. Completed 5 years ago in 1880 for the Melbourne International Exhibition, the building covers 12 acres beneath a dome, modelled on Florence's cathedral. The exhibition drew 1.3 million visitors over 7 months, an astounding number for a city of 280,000. Inside, exhibits from around the world showcased everything from industrial machinery to fine arts. The exhibition put Melbourne on the world map, proving the city could host an event rivaling anything in London or Paris. The building remains in heavy use. Trade shows, exhibitions, concerts, and public lectures pack the calendar. In 16 years, it will host the opening of Australia's first federal parliament. But right now, it's simply the grandest building in the Southern Hemisphere. The Banking District. The Banking District runs along Collins Street between Queen and Elizabeth Streets. Every major bank operating in Australia has its headquarters here. The Bank of New South Wales sits in an ornate building at 388 Collins. The English, Scottish, and Australian Bank occupies equally impressive premises nearby. The Bank of Victoria, the Colonial Bank, the Commercial Bank, they're all here, housed in stone temples to capitalism. Inside these buildings, fortunes are made and lost daily. Speculation in property and mining stocks has reached fever pitch. The air smells of ink, paper, and money. The slums of Little Lonsdale Street. Not all of Melbourne glitters. Behind the grand boulevards, poverty festers. Little Lonsdale Street and the lanes around it house thousands in conditions that would shock the gentlemen on Collins Street if they ever bothered to look. Families crowd into single rooms in ramshackle buildings. Typhoid and tuberculosis spread easily in the cramped, unsanitary conditions. Chinese immigrants, faced with discrimination and exclusion from many trades, cluster in these areas, running market gardens, laundries, and furniture workshops. The smell of night soil hangs in the air. Children with dirty faces play in muddy lanes. Women wash clothes in shared courtyards, hanging them to dry on lines that crisscross the narrow spaces between buildings. This is Melbourne too, though the promotional literature sent to England never mentions it. The docks at Port Melbourne. The docks at Port Melbourne never sleep. Steamships from London, San Francisco, Shanghai, and Cape Town crowd the wharves. Cargo includes wool for British mills, Victoria's pastoral wealth, and gold from the diminishing but still productive goldfields. Imports arrive daily. Machinery from Manchester, silks from China, wine from France, books from London. Stevedores work in gangs, loading and unloading in a constant choreography of commerce. The railway pier extends into the bay, allowing goods to transfer directly from ship to rail car. The pier can handle the largest vessels afloat, and Melbourne takes pride in this modern infrastructure. This city may be at the bottom of the earth, but it's no longer isolated. The future uncertain. Melbourne in 1885 believes its prosperity will last forever. The banks keep lending. The builders keep building. New suburbs spring up monthly. The cable tram network expands. Grand buildings rise on every prominent corner, but cracks are appearing for those willing to see them. Property speculation has reached absurd levels. Banks have loaned far more than their deposits could cover. The gold that started it all is running out. Within 5 years, the boom will shatter. Banks will fail. Fortunes will evaporate. Construction will halt. Melbourne will enter a depression that will last a decade. But in 1885, no one believes it. The city stands at its peak, confident, wealthy, and blind to the crash ahead. This is marvelous Melbourne, and it truly is marvelous while it lasts.